For 50,000 years there was nothing, no message, no ship, no sound. Humanity, once loud and bold in the stars, had disappeared without a trace. The galaxy moved on, slowly forgetting the name Earth. Some believed humans destroyed themselves. Others said they went beyond the edge of the known universe. Most simply stopped asking questions. But one day, something changed. Far from the center of the galaxy, in a quiet system, an old space relay blinked to life. A signal, human in origin, had been received. The language was ancient, buried deep in the archives of galactic history. No species had used it in tens of thousands of years, and yet, the words were clear. We are returning. Across the galaxy, leaders of great civilizations gathered in panic and disbelief. The Council, which once feared the humans' power and unpredictability, met in secret chambers. The Valari ambassador spoke with a shaking voice. If this signal is real, then everything we built during their silence is at risk. At the edge of a forgotten star system, a ship appeared. No warp signature, no known design. Its surface was dark like obsidian, glowing with lines of cold blue light. It moved without sound, without heat, but with a strange pressure that made nearby machines stutter and fail. No crew answered the hails. No scans could pierce the ship's hull. Yet slowly, the ship approached the nearest council station and docked perfectly, like it already knew the layout. Cameras captured every moment and trillions watched live across the stars. A small team was sent aboard. Inside, the halls were quiet and clean, made of materials unknown. Gravity shifted oddly. Lights responded to movement, but only for the humans on the team. In the center of the ship was a chamber, lined with pods. Thousands of them. Each pod held a human body, but these humans looked different, taller, calm, and glowing faintly beneath their skin. A console lit up as the lead investigator approached. A voice spoke. For 50,000 years we watched. We waited. Now we return. The camera feed flickered. One of the pods opened. A human stepped out. Eyes closed, breathing steady. Then he opened his eyes. Bright, strange, and full of knowledge. The feed cut. All across the galaxy, systems failed for a moment. A pulse of unknown energy spread from the ship. Ancient machines deep in long-dead ruins suddenly woke up. Forgotten relics hummed again. Something had been triggered, and the galaxy knew. Humanity hadn't just come back. They brought something with them. The galaxy was no longer silent. After the human ship docked and the feed cut, panic spread. Billions of beings, across thousands of worlds, had watched the broadcast. Everyone had seen the pod open. Everyone had seen the glowing human rise, but no one knew what happened next. Inside the council chamber, leaders demanded answers. The Valari ambassador asked for immediate lockdown of the system. The Drenari queen called for calm, but her eyes showed fear. The last time humanity walked, the stars, they had changed everything, technology, politics, even war, and now after 50,000 years they were back, but different. Back at the station, the exploration team had gone silent. No updates, no distress signal, just silence. The last image, those glowing eyes, kept playing on loop across the news. Analysts debated if this was the same humanity or something new. Something evolved. Then quietly, the ship spoke again. Not through the station, not through the council. It broadcasted to the entire galaxy in every language, even ones thought lost. We did not leave. We listened. We learned. And now, we remember. The message repeated, again and again. Scientists tried to trace its source, but it was everywhere and nowhere at once. It echoed from deep space, from moons with no machines, from ruins older than recorded time. In a quiet lab on a small research planet, a scientist named Tora made a discovery. She was studying an old artifact, a cube made of unknown material, found in a forgotten human colony. For centuries it had been silent, but now it glowed. Lines appeared on its surface. Symbols began to move. She watched frozen, as the cube lifted into the air and projected an image. It showed a galaxy map, old, incomplete, and then a new layer was added. Hidden stars, forgotten paths, and something at the center, pulsing. The humans hadn't just survived. They had found something deep in the center of the galaxy that had been buried for eons. And now, it was waking up. More strange things began to happen. On distant planets, old human-built machines, long dead and covered in dust, came back online. In ancient libraries, sealed books opened themselves and glowed with new information. Even dreams began to change. People across species reported visions of tall figures standing in white light, speaking words no one could understand, but all could feel. The council feared a secret power, but others whispered something else. Not fear, a warning, a message. The return of humanity was not an invasion. It was a signal, a beginning of something that had waited longer than anyone realized. And in the dark corners of space, something was listening back. The galaxy was no longer in control of its own silence. Ever since the human ship arrived and the strange message echoed across the stars, things began to shift, quietly, deeply, and in ways no one understood. Planets untouched by humans in over 50,000 years started to glow faintly under the surface. Old human architecture, long buried, began humming with life. Something ancient was reactivating, but no one could explain how. On the council station, where the ship had docked, new footage finally emerged. Security drones had stored backup recordings. The video showed the first human, just awakened from stasis, standing quietly in the center of the pod chamber. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't confused. He simply placed his hand on a console and stared ahead. Within seconds, the ship's lights changed. Blue turned to white, then gold, and then... The ship responded. The footage showed rooms shifting, walls moving like liquid metal, corridors reconfiguring. The entire vessel seemed alive. Not mechanical, not digital, alive. One word appeared on every screen inside. Convergence. Back in the Galactic Council chambers, debates turned into worry. No one knew what convergence meant. Some feared it was a code for war. Others thought it was a sign of unity. But deep down, many felt it was something far older, something planned long ago, waiting for the humans to return. Far from the Council's reach, on a cold and quiet moon, a hidden archive opened itself after thousands of years. Inside were records written in a language only early humans used, one that even Earth's own historians had forgotten. A small explorer team discovered it, shocked by what they found. It was a message, not from now, but from before the silence began. It said, "We are not what they remember. When we return, so will the forgotten truths." Tora, the scientist who witnessed the glowing cube, made contact with a hidden Earth outpost. These were humans who had never gone into stasis. They had stayed awake across generations, slowly watching the galaxy change. They were different, older, wiser, and connected to something unseen. They told her the truth. Humanity didn't just disappear. They stepped aside to prepare. Before the silence, human scientists had discovered something hidden in the fabric of space itself. A structure, or perhaps a signal, buried between dimensions. They called it the echo. It pulsed once every 1,000 years, and every time it did, certain people could hear it, feel it, learn from it. The humans aboard the ship were not just returning explorers. They were carriers of the knowledge learned through thousands of echoes. And now, their ship was unlocking hidden gates across the stars. Secrets once lost, now returning. Suddenly, strange symbols began appearing across planets carved into stone, metal, even light. No one could explain them, but people felt drawn to them. As if the message wasn't meant for minds, but for memories. as if something in all beings across every species already knew what was coming, but had simply forgotten. And in the space beyond mapped stars, something else stirred. Not human, not alien. Something watching, waiting. And now it was finally aware that humanity had come back. Across the stars, curiosity was turning into unease. The return of humanity had begun, with silence, but now it echoed everywhere. Ships drifted slightly off course near old human ruins, their instruments quietly spinning nonsense. Dreams grew heavier, visions more vivid. Entire species began reporting similar experiences, visions of a golden structure floating in an endless void, surrounded by thousands of quiet, glowing figures. No one had ever described anything like it before, but now thousands did, and somehow they all described it the same way. The council gathered again, this time not in a chamber but through emergency transmission, across private channels. The Valari, the Drenari, the Quarrelith, they all shared the same problem. Their most advanced AI systems were being interrupted by signals in an ancient human frequency. Not damaged, not broken, just redirected. At the center of it all was the ship, still silent, still docked. Still far beyond anyone's understanding, but something inside had changed. The humans were waking. Not all at once, but one by one, slowly, as if timed with something unseen. And every human who woke had the same strange calm. They didn't speak right away. They moved with purpose. And they all walked to the same room inside the ship, an open chamber facing a large, star-shaped device. Tora, now working directly with the awakened humans, noticed something even stranger. None of them asked questions. It was as if they already knew what the galaxy had become and what would happen next. One of them finally spoke. His voice was calm, soft. The galaxy forgot what it was meant to remember. Then he placed his hand on the star-shaped device. It activated instantly. At the same time, across hundreds of light years, deep underground, machines hidden beneath ancient worlds started to awaken. Devices of unknown origin flickered to life. Ones that had been mistaken for myth, buried beneath layers of time and dust. The symbols returned again, this time glowing in the sky above. 3 planets at once, visible from orbit but not from the surface. No device recorded them properly, but witnesses swore they felt like songs, like memories they never lived. A whisper passed through the council. The return wasn't just about the humans. It was about what they were guarding. More information leaked from within the ship. The humans spoke of the first pattern, something older than language, older than time. A force that shaped thought, memory, and destiny. It had once been known to the stars but had been buried, hidden, perhaps on purpose. Why? No one knew. One of the humans finally gave an answer. She stood before a council ambassador and said, quietly, "We're not here to take anything. We're here to unlock what all of you forgot." And then she looked upward, her eyes glowing with faint golden rings, and whispered, "It's already begun. Out in the farthest region of space, beyond the last mapped system, astronomers noticed a change in star patterns. A cluster of stars was moving. Not naturally, not randomly, but shifting into position, forming a shape no one had ever seen before. The galaxy wasn't just reacting to humanity, it was preparing for something with them, something ancient, something waiting, and whatever it was, it had just started waking up. The stars were no longer still. In every corner of the galaxy, something was shifting, quietly, deeply, like an ancient breath being drawn after a long sleep. The return of humanity had triggered more than attention. It had stirred memories buried in the bones of the universe itself. On a remote world called Cyrodion 9, explorers uncovered a vast underground chamber hidden beneath the ice. Inside were towering walls covered in strange carvings, symbols that matched those recently seen in the sky. As they approached, the carvings moved. Not physically, but in their minds. The explorers could feel them, like thoughts echoing inside. Memory. None of them were human. Yet every one of them understood the same message. The pattern is awakening, and it remembers you. Back at the Galactic Council, confusion turned to quiet dread. Reports flowed in from across sectors, technology misfiring, forgotten satellites rebooting, and more people having shared dreams of a golden lattice rising from a dark sea of stars. Council members tried to suppress the information, fearing widespread panic. But it was already too late. The dreams were spreading, every species, every region, all seeing the same thing, an image of unity, of connection, of something once whole and now broken, waiting to be restored. Within the human ship, the awakened crew now stood in a circle around the glowing star-shaped device. Their eyes were calm, their voices still few, but their actions precise. They called the device the core light, and as it pulsed, so did ancient machines far across the galaxy. Tora stood among them now. She wasn't human, but she had been accepted, perhaps because she had felt the pattern even before meeting them. She asked gently, "Why now? Why return after so long?" One of the humans, older than the rest, with faint silver lines beneath his skin, answered without hesitation. Because the galaxy was almost ready to forget who it was. He looked out the window at the stars. "We didn't return to rule. We returned to remind." Deep within the archives of the lost Valari libraries, a long sealed vault unlocked by itself. Inside was a message, sent by the early humans before they vanished. It described something called the galactic memory, a living, breathing imprint hidden in the structure of the universe. Long ago, all species had access to it. Over time, they forgot how to listen. But humans, they had stepped away to learn. The silence hadn't been exile. It had been preparation. The human ship sent one final signal, simple and clear. It broadcast to the entire galaxy. The first bridge is complete. Step forward or remain behind. And then, lights appeared. Above 5 ancient worlds, 5 golden towers rose from beneath the ground, structures not made by any known species. They pulsed in harmony, glowing with the same rhythm as the core light on the ship. Species that had once warred now stood together watching the same sky. The return of humanity had not brought destruction. It had brought a choice. Remember, or forget, unite, or remain divided. And from somewhere beyond the stars, the pattern waited for the answer. The galaxy stood at the edge of something it couldn't yet define. The 5 golden towers pulsed with a rhythm that seemed to match every heartbeat, every flow of gravity, every breath in the stars. Across thousands of systems, living beings paused, not out of fear, but in silent awe. It felt like the galaxy itself was listening, and then it responded. Nebulae began to shift. Light from distant stars flickered in perfect sync, as if dancing to a forgotten tune. Entire solar winds curved slightly, aligning with strange energy paths no one had charted before. Space itself felt less empty, like it remembered being full. The heart of the awakened human ship, the core light opened fully for the first time. It revealed a shimmering circular map, not of space but of time. Threads stretched from the past into the present, then forward into a future not yet lived. But the future was clouded, unreadable. One of the awakened humans, her eyes now, reflecting the same golden lattice seen in dreams, spoke softly. "This is the choice point. Beyond this, nothing is the same." Tora stood beside her, breath caught. "What happens if we choose wrong?" The human didn't answer right away. Then, almost whispering, "Then the galaxy forgets itself completely." On planets across the stars, strange events unfolded. A child on a mining world suddenly drew a star-shaped device in the dirt, something she'd never seen. An ancient tree on a jungle moon bloomed with golden leaves for the first time in centuries. Even machines, cold, logical, artificial, began, speaking messages in languages never programmed into them. And across all these places the same phrase kept appearing. The pattern welcomes those who remember. But not everyone welcomed the change. Some feared what would come next. Leaders of powerful empires began to form secret councils. They viewed the pattern as a disruption, a rewriting of power and control. They didn't understand it. And what? They didn't understand. They wanted to stop. In hidden places, they began to build countersignals, tools to block the core light's influence. But every time they activated these machines, the pattern adapted. It did not fight. It simply shifted, moving deeper, becoming more subtle. It could not be stopped because it wasn't a signal. It was a memory. Humanity hadn't returned to take control. They had returned to reawaken a truth so old that even the stars had begun to forget it. Now, the last phase was beginning. The ship lifted away from the council station, not with engines but with grace, as if space welcomed its movement. Behind it, each of the 5 towers sent beams into the sky, connecting to form a great symbol, one visible from thousands of light years away. And in the center of that symbol, a new star appeared. Not hot, not burning, just present, calm. Watching, the humans called it the recalling. A final transmission spread across the galaxy. This is not the end. This is the remembering. And as the light of the recalling star reached even the farthest corners of the void, a question echoed in every mind, in every dream, in every cell of every being. What did we forget? And why did we choose to? Now the answer was beginning to return, one star, one memory at a time.